Hello, welcome to my November wrap-up. This month I read 13 books. So I started off the month Neon Gods and Electric Idol by Katee by reading Neon Gods. Really enjoyed both of them. I am not really a smut reader, so this was really enjoyed both of them. I am not really a smut reader, so this was kind of my first foray where they sit. I have no
the first one was Neon Gods.
It is
where they sit.
Hades and Persephone.
The first one was Neon
Gods.
I really enjoyed
Hades and Persephone.
Kind of all contained.
They're all
really
standalone novels, and
they're kind of all contained.
They're all standalone novels, and contained. It's really good. Contained city
world
where
it's really good.
Contained city.
Original Greek gods
rule, but it's not the gods themselves.
Original Greek gods rule.
So this follows this timelines version of Hades.
So this follows
Persephone
timelines.
I really
enjoyed
the world.
And
I
Persephone.
liked the romance.
And
I really
enjoyed
enjoyed
the
world. I liked the romance.
I
wasn't
her
super
connection with
into
her
it.
sisters and just kind of
But I
learning the
really
whole
liked
landscape.
her
Connection with her sisters.
Second book, Electric Idol. I liked
landscape.
that couple a lot better.
Second book, Electric Idol. I liked
that couple a lot better.
And I cannot remember her love interest's name. And I cannot remember her love interest's name.
Arrows? Maybe? So my fourth book of the month was A Lesson in Vengeance. So this is a dark academia novel. It follows a girl and she is just getting to a school that she attended previous years. We know that she left 6 months ago and had to stay at a mental hospital, but we don't know why or what happened or anything about that. And it involves witchcraft, but it's not really clear pretty much the entire time whether witchcraft is real or not, so it's kind of an interpretation thing. I liked this novel. It's not my favorite. I expected the witchy elements to be a little bit more forward. The characters are not all that likable. I think I might also be the wrong age for this novel, but the dark academia setting was very good. I think that the characters were well done, even if they weren't likable or really to my taste. So yeah, overall good, not my favorite thing in the entire world. Next thing I read was The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina, which is a story that follows this family, and basically Orquidea sends out an invitation to her whole family. It says, "I'm dying, come see me." They're spread across the world, and when they get there, she turns into a tree. So it's kind of them wrestling with their inherited magic, that kind of stuff, which is what I had heard about this book. But I found out as you read, you also kind of go back in the past, and I really liked those parts, kind of trying to figure out what happened to bring her to this, you know, small town, to her house, how she turned into a tree, all that stuff. And I really liked the lore of this. Again, I wasn't super attached to any of the characters. I didn't really care when anything happened to anyone. I was interested enough in the mystery to keep reading, but I was not attached to really anything that was happening. So overall, I'm glad I read it, but I don't think I'll ever need to read it again. Next book is Witch Please. So this is kind of a leftover. I went kind of crazy in October and I bought basically every witchy rom-com Barnes & Noble had. This was the last one on the list that I hadn't read that I bought, and unfortunately it was my least favorite. I didn't really care about the couple. I didn't really care about the characters. There wasn't much plot. It was mostly just she's not supposed to be with humans. He loves her, she loves him. What are we gonna do type deal. For a while, there was a witch hunter that came into the mix, and I thought it would make it a little more exciting. Not that rom-coms have to be super exciting, but I feel like the conflict was not, I wasn't invested in the conflict. I wasn't invested, in their relationship, I guess, is how I would say it. So overall, not my favorite rom-com of all time. I probably won't pursue the rest in the series. But yeah. 7th book is Harrow the 9th. I finally got along to this. I read Gideon the 9th last Christmas, so almost a year ago, and I adored it. But Harrow the 9th, I couldn't get at my bookstore, so I had to wait for it to come. By the time it came, I was already in different books. I kept saying I would get around to it, and I finally got around to Harrow when I purchased Nona. This is, most people describe it as lesbian necromancers in space, which is an accurate description, but I think implies that the series is more of a romance than it is. The first book, Gideon the 9th, follows basically there are 9 planets and a necromancer and a cavalier, which is basically their swordsmen. All from each planet go to a central location for a competition to become kind of I guess it would be an immortal necromancer. Kind of lives forever, helps their god fight the war. So this one follows the necromancer from that first book, Harrow. Gideon was her cavalier. And I don't know if it was because it was so long ago that I read Gideon, or because this book is intentionally confusing because there is a little bit of an unreliable narrator trope, but it took me probably about halfway through this book to finally figure out kind of what was going on. If you do read these series, I definitely recommend reading Gideon and Harrow right after each other. But overall, this world's still wonderful. I love all the characters. The magic system's really interesting. There's different types of necromancers. So yeah, other than the fact that I didn't read the two right by each other, this is absolutely an excellent series, and I definitely recommend it. The next book I read was The Witch Haven, which in that rom-com thing I mentioned earlier, I also put a bunch of library holds on hold, and The Witch Haven didn't come until this month, so that is when I read this one. I was incorrect. It is not a witchy rom-com. It is more of a witch fantasy book. It is set, I believe, in the early 1900s. We follow a girl whose brother was recently murdered. She's working in a sewing shop trying to support herself, and is attacked by her employer when scissors magically fly across the room and basically save her. So the next day she's come and taken to this magical school, and it kind of follows her trying to solve her brother's murder while learning magic at this school. So it's got the school setting, it's got the murder mystery, it's really got all the elements I love in a book. I do recommend the audiobook. I think they do the accents very well. Specifically, there's this Irish boy, so cute. I love an Irish accent. But I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a fun, kind of contained story. It does leave an open-ended ending, and there is, I believe, a second book out, so I will probably be checking that out. But I did really enjoy this book. It had good murder mystery elements, as I said, and then I'm a sucker for a school setting as well, so that one was good. Next book on my list was House of Hollow. I believe I heard about this one on TikTok. Again, it was a library hold, so I don't have a physical copy to show. I was not as impressed with this one. So this one follows 3 sisters who, when they were small children, I believe our main character was 4 or 5, they disappeared for a week, and they came back and no one knows what happened in that week. They don't remember. Follow 20 years later, the 2 older sisters are off in the world, and the younger sister is about to start her senior year. And the eldest sister goes missing. She's supposed to meet up with them and doesn't. So it kind of follows the 2 younger sisters trying to figure out not only what happened to them in the past, but what happened to their sister now and how it all relates together. I think this one, again, it was a good book. It just wasn't for me because the characters are purposely not likable. Really, none of them are. And I do like the way they portrayed the sister bond. I do like some of the twists and turns I didn't see coming. Oh, and if I didn't mention, this is kind of like a fae story. So when they disappeared, it's kind of a are they changelings, are they not type of deal. And so I liked all that part of it. And there was also, I will say, this book is excellent at descriptions. There is some nasty descriptions in this one, just you know, rotting, bugs, all that jazz kind of a thing. So that is very well done. I just personally didn't enjoy it. Next book I read this month was The Burning Page, which is the third book in the Invisible Library series. And the Invisible Library follows a woman who is a librarian, and basically the library she works for is a central building, I guess you would call it, in a multidimensional universe. So there are infinite universes in this world, and the librarians go to each different world. There's a door that opens to the library, and they acquire books, unique ones, important ones, that kind of thing, and they bring it back to the library. And that's basically the library's job, is to collect books. In this world, there are two different factions. There are the Fae and there are dragons. Dragons stand for order, Fae stand for chaos. The library is a neutral source. The thing about this book is there is a librarian that turned evil long ago. He has powers that nobody even knows about. He's been immortal, and so basically this series follows the adventures of one librarian and her interactions both with different worlds she goes to, and basically that evil librarian. So this is the third book in the series. I would say this is probably my least favorite of them. The first book was kind of fun because you're introduced to the world, you're learning all new things, you're just getting to know the characters, and it's all kind of fun and new. The second book follows something called a chaos world, which I found much more interesting. This one follows an order world, which, I mean, it was cool to see the contrast between the second book, but the different people we encountered in the world and the different way the system was set up in that world just didn't appeal to me as much as the second book. So overall, very good. Still love these characters, still love this world, just not as good as the first two. So next book I read was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I have not read anything by Laini Taylor. I've heard of the Strange the Dreamer duology, and I've heard of Daughter and Smoke and Bone, but I'd never picked up either of them. I ended up picking up Daughter and Smoke and Bone off a recommendation. My friend texted me and goes, I just read this book, I think you'll love it. So I checked it out from the library. They had a free hold. So this basically follows a woman who is in art school in Prague. But she kind of leaves a double life. So she goes to school in Prague, but she also does favors or jobs, I guess I would say, for a beast called a chimera who grants her wishes in return. So wishes are little tokens, coins that you can spend as you would any other wish. And as we go through this book, you learn that there are two factions. There are angels and chimera, and chimera are kind of basically any combination of two beings. So it could be a human and horse, could be a centaur, or it could be like a snake woman, or it could be someone, you know, with the head of a jackal and the body of a lion. Like, it doesn't have to be humanoid. So it's kind of, and they're at odds. So we kind of find out more about our main character's connection to the chimera. We have the perspective of an angel, and we kind of see both sides of the story. And I loved this book. He was right, my friend. I really like the love story in it. I really like the found family. I love finding the history and lore behind the two factions, and basically, you know, their never-ending war and how it's affected, and there's some mysteries about certain people's pasts that you find out, you know, nugget by nugget. And I think the magic system is really fun. It's definitely not as, you know, set in stone as something like a Sanderson novel or something like that. But it's not a full soft magic system either. So it's kind of interesting to see the dynamic between, kind of you know, that line that it toes. So overall, yeah, it was really good. I'm excited to start the second one.
It's kind of interesting to see
the